Ladies, gentlemen, and hurrah of all ages, the Diablo section of the opening ceremony at BlizzCon just concluded, and we got an absolute explosion of Diablo news within the space of about 5 to 10 minutes. It was crazy, and now we know pretty much exactly what to expect from the next few months of Diablo 4, with something to look forward to even a year out from now. So let's break down everything that happened in the opening ceremony, everything that was announced, and what we know about these things up to this point. And I'll go in order of how far away they might be, but be aware that the big thing comes last, but it's exactly what you think it might be. First up on the horizon then, to use the specific words of the developers on stage, there will be 5 new unique rings being added to the game starting next week. I would assume that it was just weirdly worded and all 5 will be added next week, but the term starting next week means that it could be a sort of staggered release type of thing, 1 a week, something like that. We'll see what actually happens, but the important part is that there are 5 new ring uniques coming to the game, 1 for each class, and they are each either a directly or modified version of one of the Malignant heart powers from Season 1, with the example that they gave us being the auto-activation corpse skills for Necromancer, which is of course one that was hugely missed by pretty much every Necro player around. Now, you will have the option of using that instead of a ring slot, which means that you do have to replace stuff, but it's still very cool to have as an option because people loved that. Some of the classes, of course, had much weaker and lesser used class-specific Malignant powers though, so it will be interesting to see what they choose for each class, and hopefully they will modify some of the less impactful ones to actually feel worth using as a unique, but I do really like this as a concept. A mid-season drop of 1 class-specific unique for each of the classes, each related to the powers from the previous season. That's a really neat idea, and I could absolutely see them carrying this forward to every future season. In the middle of the season, stick in some new uniques with fan-favorite powers from the previous season, just rebalance a little bit. I think that's really fun, actually. Moving on past that, we had a lot of news for December. Specifically, we know that our next really big patch is coming on December 5th, just over a month away. And in this patch, we will have 2 pretty big things going on. The first is the addition of an enchantment preview window, which will show you the potential things you can roll when going into enchanting like it did in Diablo 3. This is long requested and nice to see being delivered on. Then also during the same patch on December 5th is something quite a bit larger. It seems to be a specific season thing, so not hitting the Eternal Realm, and it's an event called the Abattoir of Zir. This is meant to be like uber endgame as an activity, once you've completed absolutely everything else. This will be here to challenge yourself and along with some good rewards probably, and they said it is a 6-week event, which of course just means it will go until the end of Season 2. They haven't said much about what the event will be, but they have shared the rewards, a Paragon glyph made from Lord Zir's blood, which they don't talk about, but you can actually see it off on the secondary screen over there, and if you have a magnifying glass, you can see that it says bonus damage based on main skill taken in radius, as well as a high bonus to all rare nodes within the radius. It says the radius increases at level 50, which is nuts, and so I assume the whole point of this is in fact ultra endgame. It probably has a massive radius for you to feed points into, so you can just focus on one board and all the powers on it, and the radius increase being at 50 must be really big too, right? I have large hopes for this, but we simply don't know much about it past what we've seen here. Then 1 week after that, on December 12th, we have the start of a Christmas event for Diablo 4 called Midwinter Blight. This will last for 3 weeks. It will change up the landscape of the world, making it much more wintry around Sanctuary. They said it might have some effect on the mobs. I would expect something like Christmas present sack loot goblins, maybe something like that, but again, we weren't given too much information past this except for looking around for a guy with a red hood. I don't know that I would expect this to have too much of an effect on the gameplay, but I could totally see them just doing something like during this event, the loot goblin spawns just are increased massively as a gift to the player base, so we'll see what they actually do. Then after that, they started to talk the tiniest amount about Season 3 for the game, which will be happening in late January, and the only thing that they actually confirmed was the addition of leaderboards in the game, but done in a slightly more interesting way. The way this is going to work is every week there will be a different so-called challenge dungeon, which I assume is going to be a preset choice of dungeon, tier, affixes, and things like that. Then players around the world can take part in this matching dungeon during the week, and it seems like it will mostly be ranking you within your same class, and if you hold top spots at the end of the week in the world, you will be kept on a nice list with your build and name and everything for players to see, which is a really cool feature. As well, we got this sort of visual that they posted about the actual things that were announced, and we can see the season of which looks like it's sort of written in runes, which could be some hints for what's actually going to happen in the next season, as there is a large history of how runes work in the Diablo franchise. And then finally we have the big meat of the day, which is the official announcement of a brand new expansion coming to Diablo 4. It was confirmed that this has been worked on by a separate team than the live service has and has been worked on for a while, and we got a decent bit of information on it. It wasn't a large amount, but what we got was actually quite informative. We know that the expansion will release late next year. I would assume right around this time, a year from now, basically. And they also said that they'd have more to talk about in the summer, so I assume that is when we are going to get our proper deep dives on what is to come. But in this little teaser trailer, you can immediately see the jungles of Nahantu, and this directly compares to some old concept art apart from Diablo 2, because of course this location was in Diablo 2. It has the city of Karast inside of it, which is very important, and this was all pretty much expected as it just makes sense given the expansion will focus on Mephisto, and the fact that the lore of this whole area is that it was corrupted by him, and it's also directly south of the current playable area on the Diablo world map, so it all just makes a lot of sense. On top of that, we got a name for the expansion, which is specifically Vessel of Hatred. They said there will be new ways to play and promise new activities, but essentially all we know is that it will be in that region, it will focus around Mephisto, and that we are getting a new class. We have previous videos talking about expansion leaks if you want to hear about what that potential new class would possibly be, but I'll leave the leaks out of here as this is just pure factual news, raw hard truths, and that's what we have about the expansion. And that just about does it then, everyone. Everything new that they announced for Diablo 4 coming over the next few months and even beyond. It's all looking quite good. I'm excited for what is going on right now, and the timeline just feels sort of right actually, as late next year on an expansion gives them a good amount of time to continue focusing on improving the game's foundations first. Overall, I'm very impressed with this showing and these announcements, especially all the extra content coming this season that was not expected at all, and I'm definitely ready to see that campfire chat tomorrow and see any greater detail that they actually go into. That said, I'll of course go over that after it happens too, so stick around here if you want to check it out as well. For now, how do you feel about all these new announcements for yourself? Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.